everybody. How are you? Welcome to the final edition of What's Up with NASCAR. I'm your host, Angel Danger Diaz, and wow, what a season! You know, uh, definitely an uphill season. You know, when I started watching, I was like, what can this car do? That's all what I was asking. What can this car do? And unfortunately, we had some problems. I mean, first of all, before the season even started, we had a car shortage. So you can already imagine what the heck was going on. It was pretty unfortunate. It was pretty bad, very horrible, and not very pleasing. I would say it's just very insane. But don't worry, it was nothing more than a delay. And then we had the controversy of the whole thing, the uh, the test dummy fiasco at Talladega. First of all, why are you testing your cars at Talladega? Like why? Why is that? I mean, why is that? And do you think Talladega is safe for testing? Honestly, not. And yeah, that's what happened. So now getting into the real stuff of the season, we need to talk. I mean, first of all, don't get me wrong. I love this sport. I love NASCAR racing, of course. I mean, no matter who is racing, no matter who's racing. It's just I love this sport because it's not like any other sport. I mean, it's not like the NFL, which I only watch when the Cowboys are on national television in my local area. That's where I watch it. It's not like the MLB, which I just started watching, and I betted everything for the Astros to win the World Series. I mean, oh. It's not like the NBA, which I've struggled to watch some San Antonio Spurs games. It's not like soccer, which I only watch when Chivas is on TV. It's not like any other sport, and it's just it's that. I mean, it's a sport that I love, and if I didn't love this sport, and some people tell me that I shouldn't, then I wouldn't make a podcast like this one, like What's Up with NASCAR, which I do hours upon hours of recent NASCAR research to to practically present it to you guys. I mean, like I said, I love NASCAR racing, and I don't think the playoffs are good. I mean, we have to look. We have to look all the way back to the regular season ending. I mean, Chase Elliott, he won the Coke Zero. He won the at the Coke Zero Sugar 400 the regular season championship. Just listen to that, regular season championship. Not even a full time championship. It's just a regular season championship. Why is that? We don't need a regular season championship. We don't need such a gimmick that only encourages the real talent of a driver or any certain amount of drivers to be spread over a meaningless title. I mean, I know that happens. I mean, I know what happens in that. I mean, but just to do that is very horrible. Just very horrible. And unfortunately, it's just very non-legitimate how the championship have been. I mean, true in this playoff era, we've only seen growth in the 2015 and 2021 finales, because 2015 we snooped on into the Sunday night football time slot, and the NFL just boosted NASCAR. It was in 2021 we had a lot of hype. I mean, the ending of the supposedly best season ever, whatever Fox said. But objectively, this is not the championship that we want. I mean, from 2014 to 2022, Martin Truex Jr. 2017, Kyle Busch 2019, and Kyle Larson in 2021 are the only drivers to match the average finish of the champion. And under the Winston Cup format, they would have won easily. But in the other times, we've seen that a far worse driver has taken the championship from someone who's actually more deserving. Like, for example, Jeff Gordon in 2014, he got very desperate after finishing second at Martinsville as usual. He got very desperate going into Phoenix after tangling with Brad Keselowski. And even though he finished second to race winner Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman punted Kyle Larson out of the way to advance to the Final Four. And going back to that Final Four, I mean, that first season of the playoffs should have shown us that this system was not going to work. I mean, Ryan Newman was in the Final Four despite not winning a single race. If he would have passed Harvick, he would have become the first winless champ. Just horrible. And then we moved to 2015. I mean, the most deserving driver, Joe Logano, was eliminated in par to his antics against Matt Kenseth at Kansas, Talladega, and then Martinsville. He was the best driver all year, sure, but he was edged out because of a consistent Kyle Busch. He only made it to the playoffs because of a waiver, and I hate Kyle Busch. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Kyle Busch is one of the most hated drivers in the garage, but it was very horrible to have a driver that missed a third of the season win the crown. How can you explain that, NASCAR? How can you explain that? Just give a waiver so he can qualify just because it's a popular and very controversial driver. It's not fair. And then we go to 2016. The best driver, Carl Edwards, was crashed because of Joey Logano in that very famous season. And even though I'm a Jimmy Johnson fan, I was so pumped up. When he won that 7th championship. But if we look at Jimmy Johnson statistically, he was an 8th place car all year. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was an 8th place car all year. He would have finished between 7th and 6th in the final standings if the Winston Cup format was in there. Then we go to 2018. 3 dominators. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex Jr. They dominated the races. I mean, they won almost a third of the season combined, only for Joey Logano to win with the championship with 3 wins. I mean, 3 wins. Compare that to the 9 wins that Busch, Harvick, and Truex Jr. were putting. Especially Truex. He was defending his 2017 Cup. But at the end, they just lost the damn war. Then we go to 2020. I mean, this was very absurd. Harvick, who had an absurd finish of 5th place, and he won 10 races, he got eliminated because there was dirty air in Kansas. NASCAR didn't call the caution when he spun when it was raining at Texas. And then he had to wreck Kyle Busch in order to advance. And he failed. He failed to advance. In any other format, even on the old Nextel Cup chase format, or even on the 2011 to 2013 chase format, he would have won the championship either way. He was just that good. And even though Chase Elliott, he's a very popular driver. He is the shape of NASCAR future. he won the title. I mean, wait a few years to win the title. And not to mention, in 2019, in the Truck Series, Matt Crafton won the title despite not winning a race. I mean, a system that is emphasized to promote winning above all else gave the Truck Series his first, and I can recall to this time in the almost 30-year history of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, its first winless champ. And then 2022, Chase Elliott had a pretty good season. I mean, he was pretty good, and I saw the post that Iceberg made over on YouTube. He posted on his community tab on YouTube that under the Winston Cup format, he would have won the championship 3 races ahead of Ross Chastain. But once again, the format is to blame. I mean, any other motorsport has the year in points total. Look at 2022 in Formula One. Max Verstappen, he was the most consistent driver all year in par due to the mistakes made by Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari pit crew. And he won the championship in Japan. Yeah, he's the earliest a driver has won the championship in the new Formula One era. So if Verstappen has the opportunity to win in on a year in points total, why doesn't Chase Elliott have the opportunity? Winning 5 races is good. That is a championship that under the old Winston Cup format, or even under the old Nextel Cup Chase format, he would have won easily. Although in the Nextel Cup format, I calculated, and he would have been around 116 points ahead of Ross Chastain. So it would have been much closer. But stopping with the complaints, congratulations to Joe Logano. Of course, I mean, winning the championship is still something to accomplish. But it's just the entertainment first factor that NASCAR has put. So, about the season itself, I mean, I watched the first race of the season, the Daytona 500. It was great and all, but I do have to mention something very, very bad about race winner Austin Cindric. I mean, he came out of nowhere to win this race, but he has only made it between his first 10 starts. And you know that you've seen it with drivers like Trevor Bayne in the past. If you win between your first and 10th start, then you're not going to win any more races in your career. We hope that Austin Cindric could win some more races in the future. But I don't know. It's just a matter of time. And let's see how he performs, because he won the pole in the following race of the season at Auto Club Speedway, which is the first time that, yes, they have returned to that racetrack after a long loss, because remember we didn't attend for the majority of the last couple of years Auto Club due to the pandemic. And Kyle Larson, he has always excelled at 2-mile tracks, and this one was no exception. He did pretty good, so I give the credit on that. Then the Pensacola 400 at Las Vegas, it showed some of the problems that we can see of aggression with current day NASCAR, and it was pretty much that. And at the end, Alex Bowman won the race. I mean, congrats to him, but keep that in mind. Then we went over to Phoenix. The first time coming back to Phoenix, when I watched it on the booth, it was very funny to hear Danica Patrick on the Fox Sports booth. Yes, Fox was inviting a lot of a lot of NASCAR personalities, including Darrell Waltrip in the Bristol Dirt Race, which I thought it was pretty good, but we all know that Darrell was pretty much past his prime. But overall, Chase Briscoe, he got the victory, and he was a pretty good contender for the victory at the season finale 500 this last Sunday. Going to Atlanta, it was a little weird, and yes, the brand new Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500, the brand new Atlanta Super Speedway, I want to call that. It almost felt like a manufactured mini Daytona. I don't know what was the feeling about it, but it actually felt weird because you knew that it was pretty much Daytona, but a much smaller scale. I mean, less laps, less distance, and overall it was tight. And even though William Byron won without any problems, and there was a lot of wrecks because not only was Atlanta reconfigured on the banking, but also it was repaved through the majority. It felt pretty odd, and I almost felt like I was watching a Daytona race because it almost looked like if you look from the camera's perspective that the that of course the the race was of course with the normal Atlanta engines, but it almost felt like it was with the restrictor plate engines. I don't know if it was because of the camera shots or the type of racing, but it almost felt like. Then race 6, we have to remember last year we saw Coda getting getting on the rainy season in Austin, and to NASCAR's displays, it was a pretty bad race. I mean, Truex almost ended up killing himself because of Cole Custer, and the rain was too much because we have to remember that Goodyear wet tires are not the same as Pirelli's Cinturato tires. So this year, it was all sunny, blummy, and it was very, very odd for me to watch. It still is odd for me to watch a NASCAR on an F1 track, and this one really did deliver. I would say that. And at the end, the bump that Alex Bowman gave to AJ Allmendinger was very laughable. But at the end, Ross Chastain not only leading the most laps, but also he won the stages, and he won the race. That was a pretty good. That was a pretty good way to start the year for Trackhouse. Only a second season, they managed to score a win. It won't be the last time that a Trackhouse driver appears on this list. Then after that, we went to Richmond. Pretty weird to have the 7th race of the year at Richmond. Denny Hamlin gave no surprise, although Ryan Blaney, coming from a second straight pole position, couldn't win. Then we moved to the most controversial decision of the year, at least for me. I mean, we all know Martinsville. We love that track. It is the oldest NASCAR track active right now, built in 1947. It has been here since NASCAR's beginning, but the controversy, because again, the fans, they're not accepted to change, and they were so pissed when they got the news that Martinsville was going to have its spring race shortened 100 laps less than years past. And everyone thought it was sacrilege. Everyone thought that Martinsville should always be a 500 lap racetrack, no matter if they have 1 or 2 events. But yeah, it was pretty controversial. But in the end, William Byron, he did a pretty good job winning the race, and that's all I have to say for the first 400 lap race at Martinsville. So we head over to the Foot City 3rd race. It was less rainier than last season. Sure, it was delayed because of rain, but The controversy was very funny. The ending, uh, to see Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe being and thrashing like it's a classic dirt track. It's very funny. It's very hilarious, and I gotta say, it was one of my favorite things to always watch of the season. And Kyle Busch stealing one would which would turn out to be his final victory with M&M's under the hood. It was very special for Kyle, but ultimately we all know how Kyle Busch is. Talladega. It was weird to see Dale Jr. on the booth, but yeah, it was very fitting how the race ended. Ross Chastain just came out of nowhere and gave Trackhouse their second win of the season. So yeah, it was amazing, and even though it was sad for for the rest of the fans and how Kyle Larson decided to turn left and then right again. Yeah, and he almost crashed half the people, but yeah, it was a crazy finish, as Talladega always shows. Then from Talladega, we transferred all the way to Dover, and there was no surprise. I mean, Chris Buescher won the pole, was showing what RFK could do with poles, but you have to remember that at the same time, Brad Keselowski and Jack Roush were basically going fine after fine after fine, culminating in one of Keselowski's worst physical seasons. Chase Elliott won the race because, well, it's your classic Hendrick Motorsports playground. And then we went to Darlington, the Goodyear 400. I'm gonna be honest with every one of you. I did not like the throwback schemes with the numbers slanted forward. It just felt like you were just watching old school IMSA. But yeah, I think it's just for more that I'm more traditionalist or whatever. It is because of that. But yeah, that's maybe the reason why I didn't feel that pleased during the race. Joe Logano gave no surprise. He won the pole, led the most laps, and won the race. I mean, simple as that. Then we went over to Kansas for the Van Helt 400, and yes, it was a weird race. Hello, Danny. Hello, Danny. Let me just send you a link if you want to join. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the link over here in the comment section if you want to join to the stream. So yeah, there it is. That's the link if you want to join. So going to Kansas, Christopher Bell showed us the speed that Joe Gibbs Racing could have, but the star of the show was practically Kurt Busch, and he won the most laps and eventually got what was Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, and all of 23XI's second win in their existence, only their second season. And I gotta say, it was pretty good. It was pretty decent to see that. And remember Kurt Busch. Please remember Kurt Busch. Then the All-Star Open and the All-Star race was a crapshoot. Can't today low. It's all right. It's all right, Danny. It's all right. You can leave in the comment section what was your favorite moment of the season while I do this recap. So honestly, the All-Star race sucked. It was pretty much a single file. The only good thing about the All-Star Open was Daniel Suarez getting the team into the show. And then the finish was pretty shitty. Ryan Blaney led the most laps. He won the race. But then the caution came out and seeing and hearing the announcer just saying this race ain't over, it is like, what? How? How it ain't over? How is this race not over? Yeah, it was pretty weird. It must have been weird if you were a fan and you didn't monitor NASCAR's race control with a radio scanner at the track. It must have been weird, but was pretty hefty to say the least. And to say that when Blaney was coming to the caution flag, and then instead of getting the checkered, he got the yellow, and he even got the was getting the window net out. It was very, very weird. Of course, NASCAR would negotiate for the All Star race next year, and we all know where it's going to be. I'm not going to spoil it until next season, but yeah, all I can say is that Fox said anywhere but Texas. And then we continue to Charlotte for the Coke 600. Denny Hamlin won from the pole, but Ross Chastain led the most laps. It was a pretty good race. I mean, it was a bit boring compared to other Coke 600s that I've watched. I mean, I still claim to myself that 2005 Coke 600 is my personal favorite. It must have been because of the cautions and all the funny stuff, but I mean, I like it. I like the 2005 edition. Then we went to the Enjoy Illinois 300, and to see uh to see a racetrack like Gateway, which they've been pleading to have a racetrack over in the St. Louis area, and we have to remember that St. Louis doesn't have any professional sports. I mean, sure, next season we're gonna see St. Louis enter MLS, but come on, we have to be real. NFL ditched them out. NBA ditched them out. The only good thing is the MLB. I mean, they still keep Busch Stadium 3, but to have racing in St. Louis, it's honestly a saving grace. And even though Chase Briscoe won the pole and Kyle Busch got the most laps led, Joe Logano won the race, and he made the price of admission pay. And for its first showing, I have to say that this race did put up the price of admission that it was supposed to put up for. Then went to Toyota Save Mart 350. Finally, in the original, the OG Sonoma, the good Sonoma that we all been dreaming of, especially if you're my generation, 2003. If you remember my generation, you love this track because of childhood. Kyle Larson won the pole, but the star was Daniel Suarez. He got the most laps led, and he won the race. And he became the fifth different winner not born in the United States in NASCAR. Not only that, but also he became the first foreign driver to win at Sonoma since Juan Pablo Montoya in 2007. And he was close in 2013. And that pretty much closed the Fox portion of the schedule. And we all know that from there on out, it was NBC. The LA 400 started on NBC. I mean, it was a pretty good change. And Denny Hamlin got the most laps led, and he won the pole. But at the end, the race moved to USA Network because of rain. What a way to start the NBC schedule. I mean, it sucked. It sucked for those that you don't have cable television. I'm gonna be honest. I don't have cable, and when there's NASCAR races on cable, I watch them on Twitch. Yeah, that's why I'm pleading for more and more NASCAR Cup races to be on network television, including some Xfinity and truck races on Fox and NBC. And then we went to the Quick Trip 250, which would be the third and final time in NASCAR Cup Series history that Road America would be, and the second and final time that Road America would be on the 4th of July. And the racing was decent, but compared to last season, it wasn't as good as last season. Chase Elliott, no cap, won the pole, led the most laps, but at least my favorite part of the race was Tyler Reddick. He won the race. It was finally his time, and I don't know. It just felt like it was a pretty good ending. Then we move over to the Quaker State 400. Atlanta for his second showing, it was good. Chase Elliott, he led the most laps. He got the pole, and he won the race, and all because of a daring move that put him under the storm eye, and it almost made him look like a dick. And I can't blame him. Just everyone was a Corey LaJoy fan. Next was the Embittered 301. I actually made Wassup with NASCAR on that race. It was okay, and Christopher Bell won the race. It's just pretty weird how he won at the end, but at least we didn't get another short finish like we did in the LifeLock 400 Part 2. Yeah, I'm talking about you. 2021 New Hampshire. But yeah, that was a pretty good race, to tell you that. And then we went over to Pocono, which, oh my god, I don't know what to say. Denny Hamlin won the race. I mean, no cap. They won the race. Kyle Busch finished second. But the controversy went at the very end of the race where they said that Chase Elliott was the official winner. Why? It was simple. A violation in the front fascia of the car. And of course, that's a quote of saying them cheating Toyotas again. It would be the final race that M&M's would sponsor for NASCAR. And then we went to the Brickyard to Brickyard 200. You can say that, the Bryson 200, the Brickyard. And a NASCAR and IndyCar doubleheader was pretty good. I mean, Jimmy Johnson didn't win. But what was great is that for the first time in NASCAR history, a Russian driver appeared on the scene. And in a post-Cold War era, it sounds pretty weird. Daniel Kvyat decided to take part in that race, and there's a lot of people against it, especially because of the of the tension that exists between Russia and the United States, especially right now with the war going on in Ukraine. But at the end, it was pretty nice. But then, even though Tyler Reddick won the race, the controversy is Kyle Larson's wreck when he bashed hard. He bashed hard, and that brought some concerns that maybe the next gen was rushed up to market. So I headed over to the Firekeepers Casino 400 at Michigan. It was a pretty good race, although it was pretty troubled, especially for me because I was doing at the same time the race was happening a Music City Grand Prix reaction from Nashville, and I canceled it even before the green flag had bailed out on it, saying that IndyCar just doesn't do great. But the NASCAR race was better. Bubba Wallace got the pole, and he was one pass away from taking the win from Harvick. It was so great, and so great, in fact, that Bubba got emotional for finish second. I mean, You can still get second place. I mean, no doubt, but it's heartbroken. It's heartbroken when you're very very close for a win. I mean, I know that. I know that pretty good. Going over back to Richmond, where Kyle Larson won the pole, Joe Logano led the most laps, but Kevin Harvick got his second win of the season. Yeah, after a winless 2021, which, fun fact, was the first season that Kevin Harvick went winless on his tenure with Stewart Haas, and now winning in 2020 and 2022 two races was very good. It was nice. And then we went to the Gold Bowling at the Glen, which again, Kimi Raikkonen, he spotted back onto the racing scene a year ago. He retired from Formula One, and now, a year later, he was doing a one-off cup race for Trackhouse. It was pretty funny. I remember the Discord chat. It was like boah all the way. It was a big fat boah, and rightfully so. I mean, having having Mr. Raikkonen on the race, it was like a NASCAR race being aired on Comedy Central if you were on the VC. And then we went over to Daytona once again for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. It was delayed until Sunday because of rain again. Kyle Larson won the pole. Chase led the most laps, but Austin Dillon won. So for the first time ever, yes, we do have 16 drivers filling all 16 playoff spots by wins. Oh, it's nice and all, but we all know that Austin Dillon is a wasted slot. So our playoff field was set, and it was time for the round of 16. So the round of 16, the Cookout Southern 500. It wasn't a playoff driver, but it was actually Eric Jones who got the victory for Petty GMS. First win since 2014 for Richard Petty Motorsports, and first win for GMS Racing in the Cup Series. It was great. It was nice to see as a Jones fan, but for everyone else, it was just pretty bad. And Hollywood Casino 400, it was great as well. Todd Reddick winning the pole, but the story was Bubba Wallace, who won the race in number 45 car. This is why I said to keep Kurt Busch in. After, remember that Pocono, he was sidelined for the remainder of the season due to a concussion, and because of that, he has just announced his retirement after the 2023 season. And depending on his condition, he's going to run a part-time schedule next year. So it's just another Dale Jr. situation, of course. So because he locked the 45 into the owners' playoffs, Bubba Wallace had to participate in the 45 while they had Ty Gibbs filling in for him in the 23. And that same 45 won in the spring at Kansas, and to see it winning this time via Bubba, it was pretty good. It was pretty good, I tell you that. Second career win for Bubba Wallace. Third win in existence of 2311. Then the Bass Pro Shops night race actually showed what Chris Buescher could do with a good race car. I mean, he has been stuck around racing for very failure teams like Front Row and JTG Doherty. But now that he was with Roush Fenwick Keselowski, a win was good, but it doesn't take away all the excuses of fines and poor performance that RFK has experimented on their first season. After the round of 16, the guys that said goodbye were Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon, and Kyle Busch. It was very disappointing to see Kyle Busch ending his long tenure with M&M's in the playoffs like that. Then in round of 12, we went over to the Auto Trader Eco Park Automotive 500 Texas. Brad Keselowski won the pole, but Tyler Reddick led the most laps en route for a third win of the season. But it came at a price because of Alex Bowman. He crashed and he had a concussion after that, so he was sidelined all the way to Phoenix. The Yellowwood 500 was up next. Christopher Bell won the pole, but oddly enough, both Almirola and Chastain led the most laps, while Chase Elliott steamrolled himself to a victory. Then the Roval 400 was another crazy Roval race. Joe Logano won the pole. Chase Elliott led the most laps as usual, but Christopher Bell, showing his talent and speed that he has for road courses, managed to put up a clutch victory. He was behind the cutoff, way behind the cutoff, so he needed a miracle, and that miracle came. And it won't be the first time, nor the last this season, they would perform that. And after that, the drivers I would say goodbye after the round of 12 were Alex Bowman, Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, which was an anomaly, and Daniel Suarez, which I have to say for his second season with Trackhouse, Daniel Suarez has improved a lot. And then we move over to the round of 8, the most crucial part of the NASCAR schedule. South Point 400, Joe Logano won, but Chase Elliott's teammate Kyle Larson got wrecked by Bubba Wallace after he got punted in the wall by Larson. Not only taking Kyle Larson out of the race, but also putting Christopher Bell behind the 8 ball that early. And then Bubba made his best to try to spend the night in a Las Vegas County prison as he shoved Kyle Larson. And after that, he would get suspended, and he did issue a public apology to Larson, not one to Christopher. After the whole fiasco, we went over to Homestead. Was finally grateful to have Homestead back in the season as a playoff race. Dixie Vodka 400 was pretty normal. Kyle Larson won the race. And then we go into the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. I mean, it was your typical Martinsville race, no doubt about it. But the reason is how the race ended. As Christopher Bell walked himself to a victory, the best part of the season occurred. Ross Chastain decided to Hail Mary his way to the championship 4. He rode alongside the wall, scraping it, and he just took 4th away from Hamlin. That was insane, I tell you that. It was funny, and it was one of the best moments that I've seen in Martinsville in decades. I love it. Yeah, thank you. And yes, because of that antic, because of his practice when he played NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005, not only did Ross Chastain race and Hail Mary himself to the Final 4, but he also scored the fastest lap ever in a NASCAR Cup race in Martinsville. It was insane. Then after that, Brad Keselowski, he finished 4th, but he was disqualified because his car was unwedged and was underweight in post-race inspection. I don't know how that happened, but okay. Look, the only good thing about this race was Ross Chastain's Hail Melon. It was one of the best moments that I've ever seen. It was even top trend on TikTok. I was checking some Sophia Woodward on TikTok, and then when I scroll up, that movement appears, and it had over 1 million views. on TikTok. That was just insane. Those are the times that NASCAR, the things that NASCAR should try to embrace. It was a special moment, I tell you that. But was it risky? A little bit. Yeah, it was a little risky, but was it an embarrassment? No. Everyone loved it. Even even Fox Martinsville tried to replicate the whole thing on iRacing, and NASCAR and NBC tried to replicate on NASCAR Heat 5 via Chase Briscoe, and it didn't work. And yes, Chase Briscoe said goodbye alongside Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Denny Hamlin. And then Phoenix. The Phoenix was boring throughout the most of the race. Sure. But what wasn't boring, and I have to say, what wasn't boring about that race was actually the whole thing happening happening with the championship, because Chase Elliott, the most consistent driver all year, regular season champion, got punted by Chastain. I betted Chastain to win the championship. I lost the bet to Joe Logano, of course, but wow, that was insane. And for the worst, he finished 28th in the race. Yeah, that's just embarrassing. Now, sure, it was a pretty good season. I'll give this season a rating after I see the following, because the season wasn't perfect. I mean, we had some problems, especially with the new cars. They were too rigid. And even though we have the Hans device and all the improvements that NASCAR has made over the years following the death of Dale Earnhardt, it still wasn't safe. You already saw two drivers getting concussions. But I didn't mention this. Tyler Reddick had to retire early from the Martinsville race because of concussion-like symptoms. Of course, he doesn't have a concussion, but his wreck, I mean, his wreck in the previous race at Homestead was pretty much a down for that. And yeah, you can say that. But I'm just gonna say that it was very unfortunate what happened to him. Sure, but it's still one of the many problems, and especially with this brand new cars. I mean, the higher horsepower is good, but the cars are extremely rigid, especially when you add in a double diffuser underneath the car, which makes the cars not rigid at most, but a little bit more harder to control. The gearbox, I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, sure, 5 gears is nice, but the way it was used, you just had to push it. If you want to shift down, you have to push it to pull it towards you. If you want to shift up, which it's very stupid. I don't know why NASCAR do that, but okay, maybe it helped with the road course, because this new car was intended for road courses at first, and that's where it excelled best. But overall, it was just really weird and pretty unsafe. My final rating for the season is a B minus. Not a good season by any means, but at least it was a better season than what we had in 2021. Of course, didn't match 2021, which was, in my belief, the second best season of the Gen 6 era. But for the start of this new next gen era, NASCAR has to do a lot. And there are talks that NASCAR might be heading from their V8s to the V6 turbo engines. Now, tomorrow, I'll be on El Paso Community College Pulse Radio with Radio Angel Sport Box and NFL Kickoff the Week starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central. Radio Angel YM on Pulse Radio. Link is in the description below. And I have to say is that this season was good. Maxwell was gonna be here, but he bailed on us because he was busy. We have to understand that. So all I want to say is thank you guys for sticking with me. It's been another great season of NASCAR racing. I give it that. I'm Angel Diaz Rada, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, peeps.